Hey everyone, it's Chuck Hogan with Your Best Life, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure that you leave a comment. The app's completely free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV Sticks, and of course Roku, Roku Sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Well, I get to bring on someone tonight who's a near and dear brother from another mother, someone I've known for the better part of 2 decades, who has been a selfless service in the world of self-help and personal development. And in addition to that, he's a loving father, a doting husband, and beyond that, he's just one heck of a guy. He's an amazing golfer, skier, athlete, all around, multilingual. Yeah, I guess that kind of covers it. And on top of that, he is one of the most skilled salesmen I've ever met in the world of creating value proposition for those in the world of medical as well as in service industries. So please welcome the one, the only, Darren McMahon, my brother from another.
Thank you, buddy. You are too kind. It's definitely an honor, and I'm very privileged to be here with you. I'll tell you what, I don't know where you came up with that spiel, but I'll go ahead and take it.
It's all truth. I don't have a script. I'm not smart enough to read it. So here's the cool part. On this show, on Your Best Life, I know, and I pray that you've all grown accustomed to understanding that this show is for you. This show is about people and how we get to engage and ask higher quality questions and move further, farther, faster by really getting raw and real with ourselves. And so when Darren and I were discussing some topics, he brought up something that I remember very vividly and had an experience with him actually personally at a development event one evening. But, you know, in life, I'll put it a different way. Life is short. Embrace it, honor it, live your best life every single day to the best of your ability, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us. And you know, Darren, I know that over the years you dealt with a scenario where you had experienced some grand mal seizures in your life, and it was a time I didn't even know this about you. And again, it's not like you lead with that. It's, hey, Darren McMahon, superhuman being, and you know, every now and then I try to swallow my tongue in the middle of the night and convulse while my muscles lock up and my jaw's tight. It's like, yeah, I don't know that ever came up in our conversation. And until I experienced it one night with you. And I can tell you all, you know, have you ever had that where you wake up out of a deep sleep and you're like going, okay, wait, something's going on. And I couldn't figure it out. And then I look over at the bed next to me, and it was as if I was in the Wilt Chamberlain suite, because this thing was vibrating like nobody's business and moving all around and shaking. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Darren. And then, of course, I go over to him, and every muscle in his body is locked up as tight as, like, I mean, I swear to you, it's as if he had clutching $2 million in his hands and he wasn't going to freaking let go of it. He just literally was locked up tight. And I grabbed my wallet and I slid it in his mouth. I barely got it in there. I mean, I still have the wallet. It still has his teeth marks in it to this day. It's a rite of passage. I will never get rid of that thing. I'm sure on eBay it's going to be worth $1 million someday. And it was one of those scenarios where after about 25 minutes of watching this, it subsided. And then he went to sleep. I didn't sleep all night. I'm watching him like a hawk. I'm like, I've got my wallet in my hand. I'm ready. I'm ready. Is he going to do this again? And he slept all night. He woke up the next morning. I was like, dude, what happened? He goes, what do you mean what happened? I'm like, you don't remember what happened? He goes, no. I go, how'd you rest? He goes, I slept like a rock. I was like, going, okay, I'm so confused at this moment. And I'm like, literally, I mean, I hadn't slept. I was literally sleeping with one eye open. It's like one of those gigs where you're like, and that was the whole night. Here's what I can tell you. And Darren, please, I mean, jump in, because I know this was your experience. Sure. This happened to you on an airplane flight. This has happened to you at different times in your life. And what What was your experience overall from this? Because it got to a point where it literally, I remember having this conversation with you that it affected your psychology.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you that actually the first time that I had a seizure, because I never thought it was going to happen to me. I always thought myself, I was, a student athlete in college. I thought everything was great. Happened to me my sophomore year in college. I was studying for finals. It was probably about 8 o'clock at night. And I was taking a nap inside the library at UC Santa Barbara on the 8th floor. And I put 3 chairs together. And suddenly I woke up and I saw flashlights in my eyes. And it was the paramedics. And they carted me off and they said that I had a huge seizure. And seizure, what are you talking about? And that was the first one that happened. And I really kind of just said, okay, whatever. I mean, I didn't believe it. Same thing happened 2 years later. Same scenario, studying for finals. And the doctor, and this was actually in my dorm room. I was actually sleeping as well. And the doctor ended up saying, hey, dude, you're not getting enough sleep and you're stressed out. That's why this is happening, because, they took the test, did all this and this and that. And you say, you look perfectly healthy, but you're not getting enough sleep. You got to treat yourself better. And anyway, make a long story short, fast forward it a little bit, because nothing happened for, some years. And then they started to happen again about once every year, about one a year. And then I started getting into the Robbins environment. That's when we met up. And once again, they only happened when I slept. So I kind of didn't know what to put the reality to it until one time it really happened when I had a grand mal seizure. This was probably about 15 years ago, when they carted me off and they said I basically flatlined and they thought I was gone. This is when my ex-girlfriend was there, and I had a good friend of mine at the house and said I was sweating profusely, and paramedics were there and they said they thought I was done. And at that time, it finally, maybe I'm not the quickest learner, but it kind of finally sunk in. Hey guy, you got to change around the way you're living your life, because I was in uber mode to go ahead and get stuff done no matter what. I was on super success mode. Hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes and just work. It didn't matter how many hours of sleep I got. And I was dating a gal that lived out in Europe. I was working about 70, 80 hours a week in corporate America. I was also buying a bunch of real estate in different states. So I was juggling all this different stuff. I was also trying to work out, keep myself in shape. Guess what? I was also doing, Tony Robbins stuff as well, trying to help myself help myself and help others, trying to, improve their lives. I wasn't leaving any time for myself. Make a long story short, I almost died. Not once, but it happened also a year and a half later. That freaked out my ex-girlfriend. She took off. She was like, I can't handle this. I'm happily married to my wife now, and we didn't fit. So it was the best thing for us at the time. But I'll tell you what, it really scared her. And it was the best thing really for us. But it really made me take a deep look inside of myself, because I was really, really scared. I started to get scared to where I was even scared to shut my eyes, because I started to think to myself, hey, is this going to be the last time that I see this beautiful world? Or am I going to be able to achieve the goals that I want? Because that time when they told me that I flatlined and that they thought I was gone, and then I suddenly came back, it was very, very weird. I can't say that I saw the gates of heaven or anything, but I did see some type of, I still visualize myself walking through something, and I heard these voices, and I don't know what it was, but I heard these voices, And then suddenly I snapped out of something, and I woke up and I saw these fish eyes, my ex-girlfriend and my buddy Sanjay at the time, and they were looking at me with these huge fish eyes, and they said they couldn't believe the paramedics were there, and they said, "Dude, we thought you were gone." Everyone was freaking out, and I didn't know what to think. I was like, what's going on? And
well, those voices I heard where people screaming at you, "Don't go to the light."
Yeah, I mean, it was a big reality check for me, and it made me change. It made me change around my life because, for the first month, I was at least scared, but I started to tap into the technology of what you and I have learned, through personal development. And I just said, hey, listen, I'm not going to be a prisoner to my life anymore. I'm going to go ahead and live every day like it's its last, because, no day is a guarantee. And I'm just going to go ahead and live the most epic life that I have, and since there's no guarantees, I'm just not going to be a prisoner for life, and I'm not going to be a victim. And within a month, I snapped out of it, and I've been seizure free since, and it's been great. I'm still on medication, but it doesn't affect me at all. I just take pills before I go to sleep, and other than that, everything's great.
No, that's awesome, brother. And thank you for taking care of yourself. I know that in certain environments, and this is something that's really important for all of us to remember. Life is a get to. You have to. You get to make choices around how you're showing up, where you're showing up, who you're spending time with, and the company you keep. And I know this man for multiple reasons, more so than just being in an educational environment where we had a like-mindedness, and it was an attraction where it was like you're around other people that are aspiring to live at a higher level. And what you start to find is that everything has a cost. Everything. It's important to understand that the currency that you're utilizing is you. And there's a difference between if it feeds you or if it feeds on you. What's the distinction? Well, it doesn't mean that you don't learn, and it doesn't mean that you don't get remuneration in some way, shape, or form, or some value out of that space that you're in. The shift is that when you go from allowing your ego to go and around having to always make progress, having to always advance and improve, and they go, well, Chuck, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's true to a degree. And then there's another side. Are you living? Are you living in that moment where the lessons and the learnings provide you with even more opportunity? And Darren's a living example of this. He has two beautiful children, his amazing wife, his life, the abundance that he has on so many different levels. And Darren, how did you start to find this level of appreciation? Because you've always been a hard worker. You've always been someone that is a doer and doesn't make excuses around success, the lack of, or the experience of it. What did you find for you that you started shifting your focus to that allowed you to actually become more abundant, more fulfilled?
Well, one of the main things that I started to do, is, the famous Jim Rohn says, you're the equal of the 5 people you hang around with. So I really made sure that I took a close look at my peer group, my cabinet, my inner cabinet. I wanted to make sure that I was around the right people. My inner psychology, I was really practicing my inner psychology, and those people that were always really supporting me. Because I've had some very, very close friends of mine that I've known since, heck, I've been in 6th and 7th grade, that I will go to the grave with, that I love very, very deeply. However, we may not be on the same level in many different ways. We may not think in many different ways. So it's not like I abandoned them. However, I adopted another peer group in many different ways that really supported my new mindset. And so as they say, it's like when you climb a mountain, be willing to pass down that rope. And so, you know, what I've been trying to do is pass down that rope to some of my friends that, you know, I've known since childhood, to help them, give them the tools to help them get up to the next level where they want to go in life, because a lot of them did not really have those tools, or have the right strategies to get up to the next stage in life. And they were just happy, you know, and getting to say, hey D, what you doing this weekend? You know, you want to sit on the couch and watch some football, you know, some Sunday football. I was like, no, heck no, I want to go on out and meet some new people. I've had my life flash before my eyes a couple of times, but I want to go on out and meet some more peer groups as well. So as we know, it's not so much what we know, it's who we know. So I want to go on out and meet as many people. So that was one of the strategies really of what I tried to do is I really met a great group of people, and we started doing trips together, and we started, and these people are great high level type of people, and I started having great expectations as well, because I didn't want to disappoint them as well. We all didn't want to disappoint one another, and we would share goals. We were very authentic, and it was no holes barred. I mean, we would be very transparent with each other as to, hey, where we needed help in each other's lives, whether it be emotionally, whether it be with the family, whether it be financially, whatever it may be, whatever our goals were, we're all very transparent. So that was the first step of what I did.
No, that's awesome. Authenticity is so important in understanding your blind spots as well, that we don't all get to see them on a consistent basis, and having people that we give permission to that can help stand for us and support us. I love that, brother. That's amazing. You know, I know that Laura is such a guiding force, your beautiful wife, and that you have such an amazing relationship that provides so much guidance and clarity and opportunity. And then, of course, the love of your two little girls as well. I remember when you were the dashing, single, debonair dude, and you're still dashing and no longer single and still very debonair. The difference now is you have all these beautiful women in your life, and they are around you all the time, which is amazing. And I'm sure that growing up with a father like you and a husband like you is very nurturing, because you're an alpha male. You're someone who walks the talk. You're not just a pleaser. One of the things I've always admired about you. And I would ask, where do you derive a lot of your inspiration from? As again, I know peer group is important, but you're also an extremely hard worker, and that requires a lot of time taking care of clients and business. Where do you find inspiration in today's environment? Because there's a lot of social media, there's a lot of hype, and I'll say there's a lot of vaporware out there. And it's like, so what would you say is real for you and help support you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. For the last couple years, I have not even been on social media because I needed a break from social media because sometimes social media can be overwhelming, and I needed to concentrate. I wanted to concentrate on my family, my little one, my little 4-year-old Mila. She was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, right? And so she needed to have some special attention, needed to have a lot of speech therapy and so forth, and which she still is in, and she's starting to, it looks like, come around with that. And so, but it's all been all hands on deck, and I just wanted to make sure that for the last couple of years that, hey, I was not worrying about, responding to this or that message, and that I was just solely focused on my family and my kids. I know that social media will always be there, and when I want to come back, which I'm just right now about time to get back into the fold, so to speak. I have not been on social media, so social media was not where I got my inspiration. Really, it had to be A lot of it was through books. I love reading books. And a lot of it had to do with word of mouth. I mean, I met some very incredible fathers throughout the years. I mean, you're, for example, one of the fathers that I really have a lot of, yeah, I just think it's absolutely incredible, you know, how you are with your kids, and that I truly admire. There's some other fathers that, you know, have been married for a long time, that, that, you know, through thick and thin. I mean, marriage is not easy for a lot of, I mean, I don't know anyone that just has an absolute perfect marriage. It takes work, but I mean, marriage is something that is truly a magical thing, but it does take work. Not all marriages may work for some people, but, you know, I'm doing Laura and I have a great marriage, and we're trying our best to be a, you know, shining example for as many people as possible. Sure. At the same time, I mean, I've been blessed to go ahead and meet through just trying to meet through all my travels, because we do travel quite a bit, and we try and not have our kids, even though we have one child that's 10 months, and the Mila, who is 4 years and 11 months now, and she's special needs. Where we go, the kids go. That's just how it goes. We don't hold it back. We want to make sure that they have experiences. And so I try and treat everyone as if they're my best friend wherever I go traveling. And so I've met a lot of people throughout my travels, and I've met some incredible fathers. And I try and, you know, meet everyone with a curious spirit. And I've been very blessed to meet some people along my travels. And I like to observe, and I'm very curious. I think that has to do with sales in general, because I've learned, and trust me, through sales, I sucked at first. When I got involved in sales 25, 26 years ago, I was the worst. I was the worst of the worst. But I learned how to be a good listener, and how to be very curious, and, you know, how to be kind of keen, I guess, about it. And so I think being a good father is being very curious as well, and seeing how other good fathers, you know, how they treat their kids as well, and different role models that they are, and different techniques that they use. And I see that techniques that you have, and I see other, you know, fathers, say, for example, one of my friends, Mark Schweiger, you know, he makes it a point, like once a quarter or twice a year, he has 3 daughters, and he goes on a trip with each individual daughter, just a daughter-daddy trip, each individual one. And it could just be a 2-3 day trip. I just called him up the other day. He's like, hey, I'm going to be out your way. I'm going out to Cali with Brooke, and we're just going to have a daddy-daughter weekend. And, you know, I just think it's great. This guy's from Pennsylvania, and he has such a great relationship with his daughter. So it's really just a matter of, you know, seeing what other people are doing, and then trying to adapt. Because I'm not a spring chicken, and I'm still learning. I got still a lot to learn as a father, but I think I'm getting better each and every day.
I know one of the things about you, Darren, is that you have such a pure heart, and you're a very kind man, and a very caring friend. And it's one of the many things I've always admired about you. You're sharp as heck, and have an amazing wit, and that's true. You're constantly inquisitive. It's one of those scenarios where I wish more people were more inquisitive and ask more questions, rather than always being so assertive or assumptive. There's a lot of that goes on in this world, and the level of imposter syndrome that's out there right now, as to people who are trying so desperately to be like other people. I've never found you to fake it till you make it. You've always been one of those that faith it till you make it, or believe till you achieve, and that you look for aspirational qualities in people, and how you can feel the same level of aspiration. And that's what I love, is that it's about raising your standards in the way that fits you. And for all of our listeners out there, this is something that's so important, is that ask yourself this question, and Darren had brought this up. You are the company you keep. The top 5 people you spend the most time with is who you become. And there's a reason for that, and that is because energies commingle. we don't get to talk anywhere near as often as I would like to. And this is a man that I love dearly. I know his heart, I know his soul, I know who he is at his core. And yet when we get on the phone together, it's like we never stop talking. It's remarkable because we can just pick up where we left off. What I love about that is that's because we have a connection. And I know whatever comes out of his mouth is truth. Never have to question it. I always know that he's going to give it to me straight. He'll call me out on my stuff like that fast. We've given permission to each other where it's like going, hey, like, and it could be anything. Hey, proofread this book for me, or hey, read this chapter. What do you think? And I'm like going, good, good, good. Meh. He goes, whoa, wait, man, what was that? Is that a technical term? And I'm like going, in my speak it is. And he goes, okay, give it to me straight. How would you put it instead? You go, oh, I like that better. Or what, dude, what do you want? No. Magic mushrooms? What do you no. No, just no. And we'll have this kind of banter back and forth. This is reality, though. This is a reality check that you need people in your life. And there's an age-old saying that you are how you feel. So if you're not feeling empowered around people who you're spending a lot of time with, maybe it's time to consider optimizing your peer group. Where do you find these kind of people? I said, well, they're all over the world. Darren's point, he travels all over the world. I know this for a fact. And it's one of the reasons why he's so worldly in his views and his perspectives. There's also another side to this too, and that is value systems. If you go, well, what does that have to do with prosperity and happiness and near-death experiences? Well, if you don't value life, some people squander it. Some people are so into hedonistic, debauchery and smoking and drinking and abusing their bodies. So I only have one vessel. And so like Darren, for yourself now, and this is something that's so overrated and I'm going to put it another way. It's so underappreciated that people ignore it, and that's sleep. And I was one of them. I was one of those guys. We'd be at events together, and no joke, y'all, you may think we're crazy. We would go for 20 hours straight. A light day was 18 hours. True story. Not faking it. A long day was 22, where we'd literally get 2 hours sleep. I mean, I look at him, he'd look at me. We're like, okay, go to sleep. We're not talking boom. Why? Because literally for the next 120 minutes, that's all you're getting for the day. So when you do this day after day, in this guy's world, this was a lifestyle. Like he's doing this, and not when he's at an event. He's doing this because he's working like a madman and dealing with multi-million-dollar accounts and negotiating multi-million-dollar deals and traveling all over the world. So, Darren, speak to us a little bit about self-care.
Absolutely. Well, there's shoulds and there's musts. Self-care is absolutely something that is a must, because we all don't know what is going to happen to us. You could be the healthiest person in the world, and your life could go like that. Trust me, I'm a testament of that happening. I was very, very healthy. And, I was on the track team in college. I was very healthy. And suddenly, they said lack of sleep. And I thought I was treating myself well, but apparently not. And I was going into high school and so forth. I was, voted best athlete, this and that. I was an athletic type of guy. I still do some crazy stuff nowadays. People say you're nuts. I like to turn back the clock, but it's self-care needs to be a part of your life. People just say, well, I'll go on these binges and I'll get healthy for 30 days, or I'll do 75 hard and I'll go ahead and get myself lose weight for 15 pounds. But then I'll go ahead and not do 75 hard and balloon back up and get out of shape again. And they do these yo-yo effects. Well,
they do 75 hard and they do 120 soft.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there needs to be a systematic pattern, 365 days to how you live your life. And that really begins with sleep. Now I can't say that I'm a nutrition expert. I'm just saying, hey, people need to eat well. They need to do a fair amount of exercise. They need to drink water, and they need to sleep. You know, if you're doing that and you're taking care of yourself, and you're also, you know, mixing in perhaps some and I'm not a complete huge yoga or meditation type of person that, you know, is going to go out there and do 45 minutes of yoga or meditation. But I think even just 5 minutes a day of just, even if it's just breathing exercises, or just something to slow down your mind a little bit, or just some daily acts of gratitude, or some thinking as to what you're thankful for every day. I think that will go a huge part towards someone's self-care. It doesn't mean you need to go on out there and run a 4-minute mile or a 5-minute mile, 6, 7, 8-minute mile, however fast you can do it. And then not skip out on not working out for the next 6 months, because that's not going to do any good.
No, exactly.
It needs to be a way of life. And that's how you're going to, you know, you and I are going to live to be 120, Chuck. I mean, that's my deal. Are you in? I'm in. Are you in?
I'm Asian, dude. Yes.
Hey, hey, epilepsy's not going to get the best of me. So I'll tell you what, I'm in.
And to your point, that stress is the silent killer. I mean, in 2009, I had my scare with cancer, and I know what caused it. And it was literally pushing myself to the limit in this aspiration to try and be the best. And so what's the best? Well, I mean, seriously, let's ask this fundamental question right now. What is the best, and what does it mean to be the best? Is it someone else's measurement? Is it someone else's opinion of you? Is it, you know, getting the awards? Is it the amount of zeros in your bank account? Because last time I checked, if you're dead, you don't get to spend any of it, not a penny of it. And if you're trying to leave a legacy, I will say this emphatically. I know in my heart and in my body, my mind, and my spirit that my family would prefer having me around than having a wad of cash around.
Absolutely.
True story. And so, you know, I love what you said. I believe that habits are created by doing a couple things. And there's actually this very simple acronym called REPO. And it really is powerful when you own this thing. And it's really simple, and you can just get it in your body real quickly. So I'm just going to take 10 seconds and share it with you. The R is for repetition. Okay. So when we start doing this, is that it's about anything that you do, because basically repetition is the mother of all skill. When you start to do something over and over and over again, you gain proficiency at it. Yeah. The E is actually make it easy. Everyone's going, oh, I'm going to go ahead and lift the maximum amount of weight so I can go ahead and get big biceps. I go, whoa, time out. One curl with maximum weight isn't going to get you a squat, maybe a blown bicep, maybe a torn ligament. So now you can't even go to the gym. So repetition, easy. The P is pleasure. If it's pleasurable, you'll do it more often. And that's the O. How often should you do it? All the time. All the time. When you get to the REPO, then you get the H. And that's because it has become a habit. So now when you're able to duplicate this formulation, it's like this makes a lot of sense. It helps cultivate. Because anything that you do consistently becomes a habit. And this is in body, mind, and spirit, to Darren's point. So out of 24 hours in a day, ask yourself this. Can you find 30, 30, and 30? You can combine these 30s, by the way, and I'll show you how to get a twofer. But this is amazing. 30 minutes to feed your mind. Something nutritious. If it's comedy, and comedy is actually nutritious. It's so witty. It makes you think, and it increases dopamine levels and excites you because you're so euphoric that you breathe deeper and hyperoxygenate. 30 minutes for your soul. If it's that meditation, prayer, introspection, silence. In the last 30 is move your body, some way, shape, or form. Now, can you watch and listen or hear something inspirational while you're working out? This is called a twofer. That same 30 minutes, now I've actually accomplished two things. There's only one place I've found that you actually get all three. And for some of us, it's actually church. Because you're moving your body, you're deeply inspired, you're in a spiritual state, and you're feeding your mind some beautiful information. So you can find the time. It's about being resourceful and taking the time to make sure that you're feeding yourself what you need. A lot of people chase wants, and this is something I'd love to go down this path with you, Darren, is what would you say to someone who's constantly chasing wants but not fulfilling their needs?
Well, I would say that for that particular type of person, because there's a lot of them, first of all, I was one of them.
A lot of variety.
Yeah. I was a lot of them for a lot of years. Yes.
Blondes, brunettes, redheads. I remember.
Okay. Easy now.
Family show.
Is okay. So first off, what is it that you want to ask that type of person is, what is it that they truly want in this world? What is it that they're chasing? Because a lot of times people don't even know what they want, right? I mean, people think, it's an ends to a mean. I mean, what is it truly that they want? Because a lot of people are disillusional as to truly what they're chasing, right? I thought, for example, for a lot of times, when earlier what you were going to is it's my friends used to call me United Nations because I was dating girls from basically everywhere, right? I just couldn't seem to find the right woman, right? And so they called me United Nations. And so anyway, it was kind of like a joke.
Only
Bill
said that. I never said that. I asked, where in the world is Waldo? So
anyway, but I was literally trying to find the right woman, but actually I was actually trying to fill a gap for myself too at the same time.
Thank you for that, because that's
exactly.
I was going to say there was
exactly
a shift, and if y'all didn't catch it, when Darren, I've known Darren for a long time, and I'm blessed to call him literally my brother. I mean, there are people I know. If he ever needed something 2 a.m., he called me. He knows the phone's going to get picked up. I know the same about this guy. He's that kind of guy. Here's what's amazing. When you start to see people shift in what they need in their life, what you end up finding is that they will start to be able to identify much more clearly what they actually need and not chase a want. He wanted to have connection. What he really needed was to have more self-worth and value in himself. And when he actually found the woman of his dreams, all his wants went away. His needs became the driving force in his life. And when your needs are being met at the highest level, you'll have higher quality wants.
Yeah, exactly. See, I thought I wanted this, but really what I needed was a deeper connection with myself.
Yep.
And I really needed a better understanding of myself. And I think that that's in general what a lot of people need to know, need to discover within themselves. And a lot of times we need to go through a lot of different trials and tribulations in order to discover that. And I went through a lot of failures in business. I went through a lot of failures by being a salesperson because, as I told you, I sucked at first. I was not very good at first. In business and relationships, I went, if you name it, I had the F word, failure, written all over my forehead. However, it was such a blessing to me because I learned so much about myself, and I was able to fail myself forward and really discover truly who I was as a person and what I truly needed in order to be, the best version of myself, in order to, really attract, the law of attraction, the right person, the right people, the right person, the right wife in my life. Wow. And further so, the right clients. And before I knew it, clients started coming to me, and I was like, whoa, where did all this business start coming from? And now suddenly it's like, whoa, the success started to come. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Okay, let's keep it rolling. And I was like, wow, I can't really say that I saw this switch just suddenly go on off, but I know that I dramatically changed within myself, discovering more about who I was as a person instead of searching from here to, all 50 countries or whoever I was going here here, there, and everywhere trying to find my soulmate. Listen, although I did meet some great people that are still my friends.
Absolutely. He was Mr. Worldwide before Pitbull. So here's what's remarkable. When you start to look at, there's this whole ideology, like the book The Secret was a big rave for so many years, and manifesting, you know, seeing an open parking stall and all of a sudden it's there in front of you. The truth is that everything in life is about energy. You're made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. You are a being of light. You're made in the image of your creator. And last time I checked, protons, neutrons, and electrons are all measurements of light. So from your molecular state to who you are to the universe that you thrive in, we're all swimming in a pool of energy. And the only time that you're ever dying of thirst is when you choose not to be connected, when you choose to just be self-indulged. Life is about we. It's not just about me. Yet it is imperative that you exercise the skill set of self-care, because self-care is not selfish. It's a necessity. The best way to be a contributor in life is to not be a victim. And so be an active participant in your own salvation as to where you're spending your time and energy, the gratitude and the grace, the love, the light, the laughter that you're living in, and finding inspiration, all these beautiful things around you. Darren happens to live in a very beautiful part of the country, and he's up in the foothills where you can see the ocean, you can see the valleys, you can see the pine trees and the spruce, and it's so majestic. And when you're out on his landing, out by his pool area, it literally, you can't even see the end. It's just like rolling hills on one side, and you turn to the other side, and you can just see this amazing panorama of the Pacific Ocean. Why do I go there? Because we're all living in this blessed universe. Some of you can just close your eyes and see the most beauty that you've ever seen. Yet some of you will look in the mirror and be disgusted by what you look at. How can that be? How can it be that the same person that has this beautiful vision and can see everything that's in front of them can't even see into the depth of their own soul? I've been guilty of this. Love yourself, honor yourself, live as if there's no tomorrow. And Darren, so if you were to share a couple of takeaways for folks as to what are some simple things that they can do in their daily lives to help start moving forward, because people need to start someplace.
Yeah.
And so what would be like the 1, 2, 3s for you that if you were to go ahead and talk to the 17-year-old Darren McMahon, this athlete stud getting ready to graduate high school, go into college, what would you tell that version of you today?
Well, there's a lot of different things, quite honestly, Chuck. I'm not quite sure where I would start because we would go way past an hour. But first off, I would say love yourself first, because before that you can go ahead and pass your love along to anyone else, you need to go ahead and make sure that you love yourself. So many of us in life try and love out the world without truly loving ourselves first. So before you love anyone else, you need to make sure that you take care and love yourself first. Just like that mask in the plane, put it on first, and that will be a great start for you. Secondly, I would also say that when it comes to relationships, no matter if it's a LTR, loving, of the same or opposite sex, make sure that you are always being curious and doing the best that you can for other people. Love people. Simply be love and be curious and care for other people, because it's a law of reciprocity as well. Because, hey, you do well for other people, people are going to look after you as well. That's another thing that I would say to people. Another thing is get financially educated, because I was not financially educated quite as well as I wanted to early in life. However, I kind of caught up later in life, but I would say start reading and getting financially educated, and make yourself a goal to read at least 2 books every single month one book every 2 weeks and start plowing through great books, because that is a great way to start, just getting more and more educated. Self-development books, I would say, at least. And, if you have more time for non-self-development books, then great. But I would start with self-development books so you can help train your mind. So audiobooks as well. If you're not quite a reader, then get into audiobooks, because so much of what we listen to, I would go ahead and listen to, for example, the same Jim Rohn, the same Zig Ziglar, the same Jack Canfield, the same type of audiobooks time and time again, Brian Tracy, over and over again. People just say, hey, you've listened to that already once or twice. I was like, yeah, and I'm going to listen to it 20 times, because if I can go ahead and think like these people, then I can go ahead and up my level even higher, because I'm going to go ahead and think as to how these people are thinking. And so I can go ahead and my life will be even more enriched, because these people are thinking a certain type of way. And because obviously I was immature, and if I could go ahead and just up my game even more, that's a good way to start. Another way is, as I mentioned earlier, is to make sure that you get around the right peer group. And if you don't have that right peer group now, is see where that right peer group is. It could be at a certain cafe. It could be at the library, wherever that may be. Seek out that right peer group. It could be a social club, wherever it may be. Go on out and be proactive and try and meet people that are going to go ahead and make a difference in your life. Perhaps even join a mastermind as well, and get a coach. Get a coach to help you along with your journey, because even the best people have coaches in life. You take best tennis players, best coaches, but Michael Jordan, whoever it may be out there, that they had in this world, the coaches would be there to always help, with the tweaks, to help them even develop even further. So people always need to have coaches. I mean, I go to people. I mean, you and I go to each other. We all go to one another to help with our game, so to speak. And life is a game. It's not how many times, we get knocked down. We're going to get knocked down. And I have this proverb right here. I don't know if you can see this right here, but it's a little Japanese proverb, this little cup right here. If you can see it, it says, knock down 7, get back 8. It's a little thing. And I drink from this every single time that I brush my teeth twice a day. And then just a reminder, because life is going to send you curveballs. And I'm going to tell my 17-year-old this. Life is going to be a curveball, and you got to cherish those adversities in life, because adversities is how we grow. So you want to go ahead and, hey, bring on those adversities. That's how we grow. Be thankful for those, because without those adversities in life, I went bankrupt at one time during that crash in 2008. I lost everything, but you know what? It was truly a big blessing in my life. Did I know that at the time? No, but you know what? I learned so much through that whole scenario. Yeah. And it was hell at the time, but you know what? I learned so much, and I will not take anything back from it. And so life is about trials, tribulations, and it's about savoring those adversities and just learning from each and every tribulation that we have. And
that's awesome, brother. Well, and it's true. It's when we look at the experiences, and if we can just take the experience for what it is, it's an experience. The meaning that we give to it is on us. When we start to decide what we're taking away from this, the lessons, the learnings, the opportunities, and every single trial and tribulation is an unveiled opportunity that is now availing itself. It's just another way. It's another bit of variety that we get to have. And within the 6 human needs, when we're discussing this stuff, we go, okay, how much certainty do I have that change is going to happen? Well, every day and possibly twice on Sundays. How much variety do I get from this? Well, it comes in a multiplicity of different ways. As you mentioned, come in relationships, not just with other people, but the one you have with yourself. And what's so imperative about this is speaking your truth and connecting. To your point, join a mastermind, get involved where there might be some, I'll say, like-mindedness, where there's an interest level. They might be talking about some topics of growth that really spur you. It could be an AI mastermind. It could be a growth and development or a wealth management mastermind. It could be a health and vitality. That's what gyms were for so many years. They were actually a social place where people aspired for health and vitality, and they got inspired by each other, going to different classes, going and experiencing different things. There's sports, extreme sports. Darren's an extreme skier, as an example. These types of folks have a tendency to flock together, no different than surfers and people that go skydiving and paragliding and, you know, pilots and the like. So why is this important? You're not looking for just intellectual alignment or even for physical alignment. I actually have a belief that we're looking for like-heartedness. And that is when we start to align with people, body, mind, and spirit, where now I understand their values and their rules. I understand that they're an amazing human being, that they're a brother from another, that they're someone I trust. I never question Darren's integrity around anything that we have a discussion around, because I know it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of love and care. This is an essential element in finding the most beloved people in your life. And it doesn't mean that there's not variety. We can agree to disagree on stuff. He'll call me out. I'll call him out. And there's no malice. I don't love him any less. I don't believe he loves me any less. At least he's never told me that. And so part of this is that where are you finding and are you being your best? I've said this a billion times, and I apologize to everyone out there in Zingo world, but I'm going to say it again. You can be doing your best, but never being your best. When you're being your best, you will always do your best. Simple, fundamental.
Something I forgot to mention, Chuck, as well about that 17-year-old is that 17-year-old needs to make sure they don't have up here, but they write down every month. They write down, not yearly, they write down their goals for physical goals, financial goals, family goals, all different type of goals that they may want to have in their life, and they hold themselves accountable for those goals. Because so many times people say, oh yeah, I want goals, you know, and they don't really have their SMART goals written down. They're all up here,
right?
And they're not specific. They're not measurable. They're not attainable. You know, they don't have SMART goals written down, and they suddenly go from 17 to 27, 27 to 37, 37 to 47 years old, and they've never written down a goal. And they just.
And to your point, there's a qualifying factor: SMART goals. That means that these goals aren't just pulled from vapor. They're actually inspired by, and ask yourself this question. This is something that Brian Main, he does this goal mapping exercise. And what I love about it is that he incorporates in the emotions and feelings and how you will feel. Not when you hit this goal, in the pursuit of the goal, in the pursuit of it. So it's not just when you cross the finish line, it's in the pursuit of that outcome. The experience that you get to have, because that's what the definition of life is. It's the culmination of all your experiences. It's not like, oh, how many goals did I hit? No one ever went to their grave going, oh, wish I would hit one more goal. No, a lot of people that have lived with the 5 regrets, which is not enough happiness, not staying in contact with friends, not honoring self, that they let other people define who they're supposed to be instead of living the life that they deserve to live. At the end of this, when the final light chimes and the last heartbeat is felt, are you leaving this world in a place, in a state that you can say, I've lived, I've thrived, I've enjoyed, I've loved, I've laughed. There are so many people that spend the first half of their life trying to amass wealth, and they spend the last half of their life spending all their wealth trying to find happiness and prosperity and peace. I say be both. Enjoy it all. Live, love, laugh, enjoy your life. It's too short. It's too short. Darren, how can people find out more about you, brother? You're such a talented and enlightening soul, and I know you're going out in the world of consulting other businesses and people and professionals. How can people find you, my friend?
Absolutely. Just it's all on my website, Darren McMahon, DarrenMcMahon.com. Everything's on there, including the best-selling book, Only Dead Fish Go with the Flow. Everything's on there that you may need to see. My Instagram is logged on there as well. Facebook, awesome. All that stuff is on there. So yeah, just feel free to log on there, and you can reach out to me from there, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
You're a blessing, brother. I so appreciate you coming on, and love to have you back again. Thank you all for joining us. And I just want to remind you that you can check us out at yblnow.com. If you're interested in learning how to expand and take your life to the next level and meet more amazing, bright, beautiful people like my brother, Mr. McMahon. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check us out for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.